What is up, you muffin munching muggles? Welcome to Fiction and Reality. Cosmetics are vital components in the gaming sphere, geared toward increasing immersion between the gamer and the gaming world. Today we're exploring what happens when those cosmetics oppose the nature of the game's atmosphere. Do otherworldly cosmetics like farting unicorns in a shooter or Goku upping his blicky in Fortnite destroy immersion and enjoyment for players? Let's find out what factors may excite or taper away at this phenomena. When do gamers hate cosmetics? When do gamers love cosmetics? This is when gamers hate cosmetics. Amongst many reasons, I would say that one of the most determining factors of whether or not a cosmetic is justified would be the magnitude of its clash with the overarching tone of the game in which it's introduced in. Now, speaking from personal experience, my lowly opinion, the threshold for tolerance of skins that are partitioned and inconsistent with the game's atmosphere tends to vary from fan base to fan base. Of course, with the Fortnite crowd dabbling in a boot-scooting boogie of their own and being a little bit more accepting than others, as that's sort of the nature of the game. But as it turns out, mimicking a cosmetic formula for a game and integrating that formula into a gaming verse in which it was not designed to be used in turns many players off. I do wonder if these gaming companies ever slow down and ask, do our Call of Duty players want Beavis and Butthead running around the map, running around Warzone and saying, hey, here's some TP for your bunghole after you get revived? Then you've got Nicki Minaj's Get. But what the hell do I know? Maybe it's once again my Zoomer brain just growing old and dying on me. I remember when Call of Duty was just strictly warfare accessories, face paintings maybe, and the primary driver of the cosmetics within Call of Duty were weapon camos. But now Call of Duty is beginning to look a bit more like Fortnite. Like, my god, Call of Duty Black Ops even dropped the Seth Rogen skin in a modern warfare shooter that's nature is predicated on a bloody and gritty atmosphere and sprung from the brothers in arms sentiment, as all Call of Duty games are at their core supposed to be. This of course garnered a less than welcoming response from many of players, with some commenters saying best collaboration was between COD and the uninstall button, and another person saying Warzone is Fortnite for people who think they are too mature to play Fortnite. If there's anything that's for sure, it's that the Call of Duty fan base holistically rebukes the implementation of skins that infarct the militaristic aesthetic of Call of Duty. And yet Call of Duty continues pumping out more of this garbage. As I stated, this is generally a consistent trend across most fan bases of gaming, where their cosmetics, the most proficient implementation of them, rests with driving home cosmetics and collaborations that mesh with the natural aesthetic of the base game itself. Destiny 2. All right, I think I have to talk about some of the cosmetic controversy with Destiny here. Now, I haven't dived into the world of Destiny 2 since I put 10x the Abomination on a t-shirt in the Deepstone Crypt raid. And for some not so specific reasons, I haven't been back. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a Zoomer, maybe being strongly inspired by Star Wars and giving Guardians lightsabers to shove up some Vex's ass will keep the player base from leaving in droves. Now, Bungie in its Destiny 2 run has had no qualms about locking ornaments and cosmetic armor behind a wall of microtransactions with the Eververse. And if there's one thing that players don't like about cosmetics, is being disproportionately walled off from grinding gear and armor sets they really want to collect in their inventories. In one such particular case, Bungie transitioned an armor set that was supposed to be free into the Eververse store, locking it behind a paywall and creating outrage amongst its player base. The player base outrage ultimately caused them to shift their position and state the overall balance in paid and earned armor cosmetics is off for this season, and we're aiming to adjust our approach to earned rewards in the future. They essentially transitioned the Ancient Majesty set into accessible rewards by making it the Iron Banner set instead of solely making it accessible through the Eververse store. Here's the thing, gamers should not have to throw egg on the gaming company's face for them to realize there must be balance between paid and non-paid cosmetics within the world to satisfy the appetite of their audience. And yet, this is the world of corporate highs and lows. What puts us in the black? What puts us in the red? On the up and up, Destiny does have cosmetics that the player base yearn for, as they are consistent with the atmosphere of Destiny itself. Unfortunately, in the world of gaming cosmetics, monetary access is simply one of the footholds that players must grasp onto. The extent of creativity for the cosmetics have a profound impact on the player base as well. Of course, the less creative ingenuity that's applied to a piece of armor or an armor set, the less likely people are to purchase that set or skin. I wonder what the overall response the Destiny community will have toward Bungie with regard to the Renegades slotting mirror versions of Darth Vader and other Star Wars characters into the Eververse purchase pool for the upcoming DLC. I mean, if people are a fan of Star Wars, then it might just be right up their alley, but then what happens to the fans that aren't? Is Star Wars the answer to helping Bungie bounce back from this lull? More importantly, however, is the balance between the variety and nature of cosmetics that are open and free access versus cosmetics that are locked behind paywalls. One may contend that such an imbalance scaves the reputation of the gaming company, and also might just deter players from returning to the game and of within itself. Here is when gamers love cosmetics. In case you don't know, Smite is a free-to-play third-person MOBA that follows the MOBA blueprint that most would expect. However, its unique world building and characters are predicated on the pantheon of mystic and ancient gods ranging from Greek, Mayan, Roman, all the way to Hindu. In recent years, Smite has collaborated with many of its players' fan favorite shows, and while they don't necessarily mesh specifically into the god aesthetic, they don't betray the game's atmosphere, as the abilities that you use with the character collaborations also adapt to the skin of the character which they're applied to. This is something that can't really be said for something like, say, a Fortnite, which has a diffuse spray of characters from multiple movies, games, and animes, or a Call of Duty, which simply changes the surface look of the player and may be bundled with one or two new finishing moves. Smite players receive Avatar: The Last Airbender skins, where players could engage the opposition with the likes of Aang, Zuko, and Korra. A TMNT pack that lets you cowabunga and booyakasha with Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, and Leonardo. All four turtles, not to mention the Transformers collaboration, lets you roll out with the likes of Optimus Prime, Starscream, and Megatron. And to tackle the most pertinent part of all of these cosmetics and why the Smite community embraced them so much, Hi-Rez offered a multitude of variations of DLC characters within the packs. And yes, as I stated, the abilities of these crossover characters weren't lazily just mirroring the character upon which they were applied to, but came with completely new animations altogether, which made players feel as if they were truly getting their money's worth out of the DLC, a formula that all developers should consider when presenting otherworldly characters into their game. The wake left behind from the tonal clash of a game's atmosphere and the character skins introduced typically determines the degree of receptiveness of its player base. That being said, one might contend that players would find more agreeableness when there is standing versatility within the gaming's atmosphere at base level. That is, a versatility of skins, while DLC is negligible. For example, the gods in Smite already have cool looking skins that players can work towards earning in-game currency called favor for, or stacking up the gems they receive from weekly logins or events that present quests that allow you to accrue more gems. Particularly its tier 5 skins, which, and listen to this, tier 5 skins that actually transform as you gain levels within the game itself. The game has a wealth of other skins as well. Players want options. When peculiar cosmetics are introduced into their gaming sphere, they don't want the third-party content they pay for to be solely restricted to otherworldly cosmetics. The preference lies with the base game's atmosphere, as it's the very reason they purchased the game to begin with. However, what players will synergize with is otherworldly cosmetics that are meticulously integrated into their game and mesh with similar components of the environment. But more importantly, content that becomes its own and can live independent of the cosmetics within the base game. The base game, which should have a wealth of obtainable cosmetics that are well versed for the game's world. Now, I know a lot of you have played Stellar Blade for specific reasons, like the gameplay, right? Yeah. The gameplay. Well, Stellar Blade has actually collaborated in its Stellar Blade X Nikke DLC to produce a slew of cosmetic bundles for Eve, which I know some of you sick people are happy about. Now, I've looked into Nikke, Goddess of Victory, and may I say, as the self-designated voice of Apocalypto and Reason, that as a society, we are fucking cooked. It's apparently a gacha game that has mustered over $1 billion in revenue and scraped $70 million altogether in a month's time when it first came out. Men, what are we doing? Anyway, the big skin that dropped with the Stellar Blade X Nikke collaboration and other collaborations was the Nier Automata skin, which mirrors 2B's aesthetic that Eve portrays, the sword-wielding android female searching for a way to save planet Earth and humanity from extinction. That is, if she can uncover the secrets behind the world in which she's in. Players confide in cosmetics that mirror the gaming atmosphere of the world in which they are being introduced in. Stellar Blade presents a vast array of customization options for outfits, which I'm sure many players are well aware of, which lets you shift and swap to the outfit of your choosing. Reception of this crossover was well received because 1, they expanded the pool of outfits available, and 2, they were woven in parallel with Stellar Blade's atmosphere, especially with the introduction of the 2B attire. Eve and 2B, two female android worlds collide, both scoping the world for answers, internally wrestling with identity crisis, and forced to make cruel choices and ferret out ethical choices. In my personal opinion, this is likely the safest way cosmetics can be implemented into a gaming world. Collaborations with systems that are both alike and different, synonymous with each other's tone, but unique in their own right. It's not something players would riot against, as it fits the design and atmosphere of the game which it was meant to be implemented in. This is strange to Call of Duty's use of character skins, which essentially has transformed its gritty and bloody militaristic nature to mimic Fortnite's cartoonistic and celebrity-esque model to sink in profits from collaborators while ignoring the core of its fan base. A trap that Stellar Blade has gratefully not fallen into. We should talk about the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games and how their cosmetics remain consistent with the atmosphere upon which they're predicated, which, as we've seen as of late, is not the case for other games. And maintaining that consistency is what's at the crux of what eludes outrage when it comes to players' relationships with cosmetics. The Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series packages its cosmetics in the form of costumes, some of which appear in Naruto Shippuden movies, Naruto Shippuden arcs, or are simply idealistic in nature or gimmicky in nature. I believe it was with Revolutions where the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series introduces another system of cosmetics called accessories, upon which players could create custom variants of their favorite Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm character, equipping different masks, swords, and Japanese fans and other accessories available to them through this character creation system. You don't really see a lot of rioting with regard to the Naruto Storm systems of cosmetics. For one, they don't really affect the gameplay, and 2, the cosmetics available all but scream this belongs into the Naruto verse, the land of shinobi. The feudal aesthetic of the accessories parallel the tone of the shinobi world and avoid wrecking the innate artistic base of Naruto. Moreover, in a world full of microtransactions, players want access to cosmetics you don't have to go hundreds of dollars up the butt for to buy. They want open access to a skin that looks absolutely sick. Unlike other games where you might have to pocket some coin to unlock all of the cosmetics, in the Storm series you can gather some in-game currency and be on your way to the general shop, where you can then obtain any costume the eye can see. Yes, the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games have cosmetics that err on the more conservative side, right? But most fans prefer cosmetics that are lore accurate or accustomed to the world that they are gaming in. Introducing cosmetics masked with the universe or molding to the aesthetic of that gaming world tremendously reduces the outrage that players may have when a skin is first introduced into that gaming verse. The source of outrage in most cases comes from the developers or design team betraying the core mission of the video game itself, its lore, its world building, its structure and story, and ass pulling a skin that has absolutely nothing to do with their player base whatsoever. The Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series is proficient in maintaining that relationship between player base and gaming atmosphere because they didn't betray that mission. That's not to speak to the quality of its more recent games, of course. This appears to be a trend consistent with most anime games that have been released in the recent years. Let me know in the comments below what you all think about the state of cosmetics in gaming. Comment below what you hate or love about the state of cosmetics in gaming. Is there hope? If you want more analysis of your favorite characters or fictional worlds, go ahead and smash that like button, turn on that notification bell, and subscribe for more. This channel is ever evolving and will continue to grow to appeal to the audience at large. Remember that the direction of progress is forward and it's only up from here. I will leave a link to my socials in the description below. And with that, remember, if you're ever lost in the forestry of words, strip your mind from fantasy and look to the window of the world, and there your mind will run free.